Good afternoon and welcome back to Keeping It Real Estate. I'm Susan Vogel and my colleague Joan Leshley with RE/MAX First. We talked about selling your home last week and how to maximize the value by certain improvements and staging, timing, marketing, everything that would give you the greatest return for the sale of your home. And today we're going to turn things around a little bit and we're going to talk about buying a home. We like to think of the home buying process as a step-by-step process, and the very first step being mortgage pre-approval. And fortunately today we have our premier lender with us, Lane McLeod with West Lane Lending. Thank you so much for joining us today,
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here today.
So Joan, do you have a question that's pretty common that our buyers typically ask?
Well, one of the first things that we do when we are speaking with our new buyers is, one of their first questions is, have you been pre-approved? And some say yes and some say no. And if not, we are always willing to share our preferred lender's information to our buyers. And one of the biggest things that they want to know if they don't have one is what's the difference between a banker and a mortgage broker?
Absolutely, yes. That is a question I had myself before I was in the industry, and it's a great one because it is so critical in the process of being pre-approved and then getting an offer accepted and the type of interest rates that become available to you at that point. So the kind of easiest way to explain it would be that if you were to go and just walk into your local bank, you will be getting their interest rates just at that institution. So whatever they have to offer you is sort of what you'll be stuck with, so to speak. What I do is I work with several different wholesale investors. So these are investors that you can't just walk off the street into their offices and get a quote from. You have to go through a mortgage broker and a loan officer. And so when I meet with clients for the first time, I really want to hear about their situation, their current situation, where they're at, with their savings and their goals for purchasing a home, what they want that to look like. And based on that information, I'm able to go and price out their specific scenario at multiple different wholesale investors. So it's a big benefit to our borrowers because they're getting a really personalized, specialized rate and experience based on their qualifications.
Well, that's amazing to give folks the opportunity to have different abilities to purchase that home, not just
Absolutely.
Like you said, walking into a bank, getting one person. You have that opportunity to share with multiple. One of the other questions we have is, what does it take to get pre-approved? What type of information would you need from our buyer?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not as scary as it seems to start, I promise. And really what we're going to be looking for up front is you're going to fill out an application that I'll personally review, and there's going to be some documentation that we need. And it's great to see this up front because the home buying process is like this these days. You guys know you have to get your offers in right away, and it can suddenly move very quickly.
Yes.
So things like your W-2s and your pay stubs, your bank statements, if you're self-employed, we're going to need some tax return information. Having things like that we can review up front, it helps us to avoid any hiccups when we're in the loan process, and it also puts you ahead of the game because the second you have that offer accepted, that's the same information I'm going to need anyway. So it'll really help streamline the process for you.
It's awesome to be able to have that.
Yeah, it is. And how long does this process take?
Not long at all. I try to be as efficient as possible because, working with realtors, I know how time sensitive so many of these offers are. It's crucial to get your offer in, to be pre-approved pre-approved. And so for me, if I have someone who's, looking to put an offer in that day, I can turn these around same day typically, barring any extreme circumstances.
And she always does. This is why we refer our people to you, because you make that happen.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then what happens after the borrower is pre-approved?
Yeah, absolutely. So I release them back to you after they've been pre-approved. And at that point, I view myself as on call. So in the evenings and on weekends, watching out for, that's when a lot of home shopping happens, when offers are often put in. So seeing, maybe you were pre-approved for $300,000, but you found a home for $250,000. Well, let's get your pre-approval letter updated. Let's tweak that. We don't, need to show that you have more capacity to spend than you need to.
Yeah.
So then it's about them finding that perfect home, getting that offer accepted, and at that point, I become much more hands-on again. So really walking through the process of, here's the documents we're going to need to see. We're going to order an appraisal. We're going to get your title work and your homeowner's insurance set up, and really just going step by step, making sure that it makes sense to them. Home buying isn't something that people do always that often. It could only be once in their life.
Sure.
And so really wanting it to make sense, to decipher for them, when an underwriter's reviewing something, hey, this is the document they need, this is why they need it. Again, having me as sort of an intermediary, the same as you are. Most buyers don't want to deal directly with the person, who's selling the home.
Exactly.
You want that comfort of someone who's sort of advocating and going in between for you. And so that's sort of how I operate all the way up until we get to the closing table.
Sure. Beautiful.
And you are amazingly hands-on. Our clients are always happy with what you offer them. Now, sometimes we have the question, because we're not the professional lender, we're the real estate person, but of course our clients are asking us questions about lending all the time. One of the major questions is, do I need to put 20% down?
That's true.
Yes, and that's a question I get all the time as well. And the wonderful news is that you don't. I thought the same when I was first purchasing, and I was like, I'm never going to be able to buy a house. Like, how will I ever save enough? And obviously there's some advantages if you do want to put 20% down. So if that's an option, I'm always happy to walk through, hey, here's some pros and cons if you want to do it this way. If you're a first-time home buyer, though, you have the option of usually putting only between 3 or 3.5% down.
So good to know.
Yeah.
So good to know.
Yeah. And then, so if I'm looking and I need 20% down or 5 or 3, does that cash need to be in my bank account?
It does, yes. And this is something, yes, it's good. It doesn't come up that often, but it's important to know because people have different ways of savings and different comfortability levels. But in order for our investors and our underwriters to verify that we have the funds saved, that there are funds, we do need to have those in a bank account, and they need to be in a bank account. We usually recommend for at least 3 months. So if you've been stashing cash anywhere, definitely go ahead and deposit that into a bank.
Make sure you have all that information in there.
Exactly.
Well, Lane, the information you've shared so far, just to know how to get started in the pre-approval, has been extremely helpful. And we'll be back in just a few.
Welcome back. We're talking today with Lane McLeod with West Lane Lending, and we're talking about the pre-approval process in buying a home and how easy Lane makes that for us. So I have a question, and I get this question from clients frequently. Do you have to be married to buy a home?
You do not. You do not have to be married. There are some things you should know about whichever way you choose to go about that. The main one being that if you are married and say one spouse wants to be on the mortgage without the other one, maybe the other one has lower credit, whatever the case is, both of you can still be on the title of the home. If you are not married, then for both of you to be on the title of the home, you're both going to want to be on the mortgage. So one isn't wrong or right, it's just something to know as you navigate that process and, you know, decide what you'd like to do with your partner.
Okay, good to know. I've had that posed more than once.
Yes,
so
I
wanted to ask that. And then the other thing that I get asked quite a bit is that they're self-employed, and are they able to purchase a home or get pre-approved for a mortgage? Yes.
So self-employed has actually become one of my favorite borrowers to help. My husband is self-employed. I am self-employed. I know the challenges that come with it.
Good.
And being able to get my self-employed borrowers into fantastic mortgages in the home of their dreams is one of the most rewarding experiences. So absolutely, if you're self-employed, you can purchase a home. There is going to be some additional documentation that we'll require from those borrowers, some extra precautions that go into it, but by no means deal breakers. And I would say the biggest thing for our self-employed borrowers to know, just sort of off the cuff, would be that if you are writing off significant sums on your tax returns to the point where your self-employed business is not showing a profit, that will probably cause some issues for you. So you're going to want to show that even if you pay yourself a fantastic salary, you're going to want tax returns that show your business making a profit.
Okay, that makes sense. So what I'm hearing is that people who are self-employed should count on maybe a little extra paperwork.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, that's interesting because in times past it used to be more of a no doc, which is long gone, which I think is probably a good thing given what our market is doing right now.
Absolutely. Yep. And the other thing, and this is a little bit typical just for any type of variant situation in mortgages, is for our self-employed borrowers, they're going to want to show self-employment for 2 years. So if you just started a business, 6 months ago, you're going to want to, keep working on that, keep building your business until you hit about that 2-year mark, and then we can look at the pre-approval.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes.
But, what happens is people just don't know. So if you don't ask those questions, you're sitting there thinking, well, I can't, I don't know. But if you really just go to the pro and you ask the questions, you don't have all those concerns, and you can feel comfortable about moving forward.
Absolutely.
So I had a client, and they just worked part-time.
Okay.
Can you still get a mortgage if you work part-time?
Absolutely. So part-time is that same 2-year rule as if we're self-employed. So you're going to want to show your part-time income for 2 years. And then obviously, if your part-time is a little bit less monthly income than, say, your traditional full-time job, maybe there's a little bit of a limitation that you're working with in terms of your purchasing power. But absolutely, it's not a problem to make that happen.
Okay. Well, that's great to know. And I'm going to add another one in here. How about folks that are on a fixed Social Security income?
Yep.
And they're wondering, I'm going to sell my house, and I'm going to, most of it's going to go away. I'll have most of my money to be able to put down on a new house, but I only have this Social Security income. Is that something?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, pensions and Social Security and sort of those longer term, later in life options we can absolutely work with.
Okay.
Yep.
That's so awesome to know. know. And then another question that everyone, or it seems to come up a lot, is can you explain what an escrow account is?
Yes.
Like, why are they keeping my money?
Right, exactly. So an escrow account is something that you will be required to have as part of your mortgage if you put less than 20% down. After that point, some people choose still to have an escrow account, some people don't. It's a matter of preference. And I personally really enjoy having an escrow account.
Sure, me too.
And what this escrow account does is you have your principal and interest, that's your mortgage payment, and then you also have your taxes for the home, for the property, and you have your homeowner's insurance. And so you can picture your principal and interest payment over here, and then we have your taxes and insurance over on this side. So you will make one monthly payment every month, and on the back end, that will be divided out. So some going to your principal and interest, and some being held in the escrow account to automatically be dispersed for you at the 2 tax times a year and the 1 time a year when your homeowner's insurance is done. So I remember when I purchased my first home and I had an escrow account, but of course it's a crazy process and I forget. And you know what, within a month or 2 of us moving in, this tax bill shows up and I totally freak out because you know you just spent money on your down payment and your closing costs and your new furniture, and then you feel like you get this bill in the mail, and then thankfully, you know, at the bottom it's like, this is not this is just for notice, this is, you know, it will be paid. It was like, oh my God, thank you. You know, I'm glad that I don't have an extra thing to deal with. So especially for first-time home buyers and obviously the ones who aren't putting 20% down, it's a great thing to just have, you know, one less thing to worry about and to know those things will be taken care of for you.
Sure, that is key, I think.
Nobody likes surprises,
No.
right?
No.
Not that kind.
And I like when things are being saved for me and I don't know they're being saved.
There you go.
Exactly.
I'm making that payment, and you know, and that's you know, always so great. So I agree 100% with having that escrow account and having those dollars saved during the time that you're making those payments.
Yes.
So you don't have to worry about that big tax bill that comes right after Christmas.
Exactly. Always.
Yeah.
So there's another question, especially for those first-time home buyers. Could you give us a little bit of background on what PMI means and what it is?
Yes, PMI is your private mortgage insurance. So you have your homeowner's insurance that is, you know, taking care of any issues that were to arise with your home. Your private mortgage insurance is a little bit of a security for the investor on your loan. And so what they do is for our borrowers who put less than 20% down, they add this PMI, this monthly private mortgage insurance that gets added into your monthly payment. And how it will typically work on like a conventional loan is that you will have PMI on your loan until you reach 20% equity in the home. At that time, your monthly payment will actually change. It will go down to reflect the removal of that PMI.
Perfect.
Okay.
One thing to know for an FHA loan is that PMI is required, and it actually never falls off the loan no matter what amount of equity you reach. Yes.
I did not realize that.
Yes.
All right. Well, Lane, once again, such wonderful information. And after the break, we'll be talking more about how to get that mortgage for your home.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Welcome back to Keeping It Real Estate. I'm Susan Vogel, Joan Leslie, and today our special guest, Lane McLeod with West Lane Lending. We've been talking about the pre-approval process, the first step in the home buying process. And here's a question that I get quite a bit. And of course, buyers say to me, how much money do I need to buy a home? And And what they're referencing is the difference between the down payment and the closing costs. Can you explain that a little?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think in our culture we talk so much about the down payment as this critical piece that you need, which is awesome and that's true. But there are a few other things that you need in order to finalize that process, and so that's where we get our down payment. So that's what you're giving to really pay down your loan amount. Then we have our closing costs. So that's going to be things like your appraisal, the title work on the home. You're going to have a credit report fee typically. So there's a variety of smaller things. Another fee, going back to that escrow account we referenced, if you're someone who needs an escrow account, we fund that up front, right, to make sure that by the time that next tax bill is due, you've already got enough in there.
Perfect.
And so that's going to be, the escrow account typically actually would probably account for the majority of those extra closing costs that get combined together with your down payment, and then you get your total cash to close.
Got it.
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know the difference of those two and why you need to do that. So I work with folks that they're not really ready right now to buy a house. People get excited. Oh, I saw a house on some social media, or I drove past one, and I really want to buy a house, but I'm really not ready to buy a house yet. What should I be doing in the interim to prepare myself?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to some borrowers last night who are interested in potentially purchasing, and they were saying, when do we really start? When do we really talk? And I said, it's never too early to have a conversation. Okay. And so my feeling is you can come talk to me if you don't want to purchase even for 5 years. Like, that's okay with me, because there's always something that we can look at to make sure your ducks are in a row. It's like getting a quote ahead of time, so you know what you need to save, you know what work is going to be required of you. So I would say what you can do preemptively is have that conversation, talk to me about what your situation is so we can make sure all your ducks in a row. Save, just save as much as you can and spend as little as you can. And sometimes, when we do even just a soft pull on credit, so no negative impact on scores, can be a great thing to do ahead of time as well. And sometimes people are surprised by their credit. Sometimes it's higher than they anticipated. Sometimes they find out there was something on there that they were not even aware about that had been pulling their scores down. So it's nothing to be scared of, because we can always find solutions for these things, but we have to know what the problem is, and better to know now than when you found that dream house and you really want to be putting that offer in.
Sure, of course.
So this basically gives the buyer a roadmap.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Yes.
I think that's very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and lots of times, even as we've been working with our buyers, they do find things that impact that, and then they realize, I'll need a few more months. And then we as realtors know what we're keeping our eyes out for and helping them through the process. So once again, that awesome partnership between a lender and a realtor, really is key, I think, in the big picture.
For sure.
So I just wondered, do you like working with realtors as a mortgage broker? Where, why do you enjoy us realtors?
Yes, absolutely. No, it's the best to have, I view everybody as a team. So we have our joint borrowers. You guys rely on me to make sure that everything is verified. I rely on you to make sure that all of these terms, the communication with the seller, the setting up the closing, all of these things, when the buyers come to me through realtors, they're so much more confident and they're so well informed. And it's a fantastic, team mentality. We can problem solve together if anything were to arise, and then, at the end of the day, have a bigger team to celebrate with, when they do get their home, which is great.
I love that.
Well, and I just really, all the information and working with a team is key to making this successful. And
absolutely,
you've really. Do you have anything further you'd like to share about you and what it is you can share to our clients? And
absolutely, I think it's an intimidating process. You're providing so much personal information, and at the end of the day, I think there's a really big fear of rejection for someone. What if I show you all my hard work, all all of these things, everything I've saved, and then it still doesn't work out, you know? And I'm here to just quell that fear of rejection and say it's never rejection, it's maybe just a matter of time. And so it doesn't matter what your situation is, what you're afraid of. I have seen it all. It's not going to scare me. I'm always happy to have the conversation and to talk about that. And I think, you know, the other piece that goes along with it, which is, and I do this all the time, right? When I don't know about something or I want to know how it applies to me, I Google my question.
Sure.
And that's great. You will find excellent information on Google probably, but it's not going to be specialized to you, to your situation as a borrower. And also, it's not going to be specialized to, is that applying to a general bank? Is that applying to someone like me who has different investors and different options for you, different wholesale lenders? So Google is great as a preliminary search, but then really coming to, you know, the three of us will give you a much more personalized experience so that you're not stuck with general answers and your very personal specific situation just being lodged into the cookie cutter mold of everything.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we can definitely tell the difference when we're working with a mortgage broker over a bank, even for the tension that arises during for our buyers. You know, they're nervous. They call us about something, and then those questions get deferred to you.
Yes.
Because in all reality, the lender is really now the person working the strongest with that.
Right. Yeah, we take turns, right?
Yeah, so we have that hand, and we're always putting it out, and that open communication and knowledge between all of us is just key. And when you have someone that's so easy to get a hold of 24/7, unfortunately, on we move into that. But so a few other questions that we sometimes have is, okay, so we're getting ready to close, and the lender's there, the title's there. What do you want to make sure that our buyers are not doing the week before we
Great
get
question, Joan. Great question.
Very critical. Yes, so many times when people get pre-approved, they think they're sort of in the clear, right? A little bit of a free-for-all in terms of, and there's obviously so many exciting things to purchase or look at whatever it is, when you're in the home buying process, but it is critical to wait until, if you're buying a house on a lake, do not purchase the boat until after the house closes. Those big purchases can really throw things off because the investor is going to be keeping close tabs on your file all the way through to that close. So they will be doing a second credit pull prior to closing. They will be verifying your income again prior to closing. So there's lots of double checks to make sure that this is the most safe, secure system, that we don't end up right back in a system like we did, back in 2008. And so they're all precautions to help keep everybody, safe and in the best possible situation.
Well, that's so awesome. Lane, thank you.
Thank you
so much. Yes, thank you.
All this extremely important information that you shared with us today. It's been just it's eye-opening to our folks.
And so informative.
And it's great. We're grateful for you today who have watched the show, hoping that you learned some honest expertise with what is happening in today's real estate markets. Please join us next time to learn about the steps of purchasing in the current market. The Susan Vogel team is always ready and willing to accept your calls, texts, emails to answer any questions you have. Wishing you all the best. See you next time at Keeping It Real.
Bye.
Bye.
So I'm Melanie. I'm here with Canine Stray Rescue League. I've been with the rescue about 5.5 years. I'm the foster coordinator here. I volunteer as well as I'm a board member. It's hard to get a good read on the dog, and it's hard to tell sometimes that a dog is a great dog when they're stuck in the kennel environment, living on a concrete slab. And it's nice when they go into foster care because we can get a little bit better feel of who they are as a dog, and then we can find a better fitting home for them. We can learn if they do well with dogs or people or kids, cats for that matter. Cats in particular are really difficult for us here because we don't have cats on site. So if you do become become a foster with us, we do provide everything, so it's not any expense to you. We'll provide you with the things that you'll need, such as a cage, food, if you need doggy bowls. We have support for you as well. So if you are interested in becoming a foster, email us at caninestrayrescue@yahoo.com, and we will put you in touch with me, and we'll see if you're a good fit for fostering with us.
Thank you for joining us here today at Stony Lake. We look forward to seeing you again next month. In the interim, if there are any questions or any real estate needs that you might have, don't hesitate to reach out to the Susan Vogel team, 586-799-3090. Feel free to call or text. Until next time.